I'm Mason Mount. You're listening to the London is Blue podcast.
If we run through some of the goals right away, it was the first one, Nick. I was kind of surprised to see Giroud making a through run, first of all.
I know.
Great pass by Pulisic to find him, and an even better finish from Ollie.
It's our first real match pool assist shout out on the show. We all have it. Look, I think it's a beautiful thing when it happens in real time. We hope for a few more of these in the actual Premier League. That will be useful. But yeah, I mean, you basically summed it up. I mean, it was the reverse of what we thought those two players would be doing on this play. Giroud making a wonderful through run, Pulisic with a great ball to him, and really just a good finish. He had a very similar one, Dan, earlier that he put way wide, and I think that gave him the angle, kind of zoned it on the angle to get this one right. And I'll tell you, I think this goal was indicative of, I think Chelsea struggled the first 5 minutes of this match to deal with Liverpool's press, but after that, they were fine. They were completely fine.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that bears mentioning is just the fact that Pulisic had two people basically on him, another third coming in support to guard against him, and two additional in front. So he basically had to thread the needle with that pass and delivered it perfectly, full commitment, falling to the ground finally as he gets it just off of his feet. And so, yeah, awesome pull assist, awesome goal from Olivier. And I mean, dude just knows how to score when he's on Europe. Like, we should just tell him, like, stamp his passport every time before he walks on the pitch to train his mind to think that he's in Europe, and hopefully he can do the same thing back in Stamford Bridge.
Well, producer Jake, by the way, we need some production around pool assist and Golasic, whatever we're going to call that.
More booze,
Golasic?
like when you predicted us being in the relegation zone.
Sure. Whatever you got to do to make this right. But Golasic and pool assist, we need some
Golasic?
eagles, we need some fireworks, we need some production there. So just need to call that out. Yeah, it's going to happen.
Is so bad. Well, good luck with this one, because in the 101st minute, Dan, Jorginho stepped up to take the penalty. That was probably the least exciting part of this. Tammy Abraham surviving a very tense VAR session.
Yeah, it was a lot there was a lot left to be discussed about officiating and the use of VAR after the match, which is unfortunate because it's just a narrative that you don't want to have play a part in these type of major moments. And great commitment from Tammy. Adrian just makes a really bad mess and kind of bungles the situation, challenging on Tammy. I think some people thought it was potentially a soft penalty to be given and awarded, but they went back to VAR.
I thought it was soft.
Okay, well, it still was given. VAR didn't overrule it, so it stands. Tammy doesn't get the chance to take it. Jorginho now basically has only missed, I think, one in his last 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, like 12. So he's having a really, really good record, and maybe he ends up, if he's on the pitch, ends up becoming the person over Barkley who gets the opportunity to take penalties from open play, Brandon.
Well, that's what I was trying to figure out, and I can't tell just from the stat sheet, because Barkley came on in the 101st. Jorginho scored in the 101st. I don't know if Barkley was on the pitch. Someone will let me know. But I think that would be a bit of a sign, one way or another. So obviously we got into the pens, and it was looking pretty good from there. But we'll save that for a little bit later. So right off the bat, the first one I want to talk about is I was preaching a little bit last episode about, this whole Lampard out / patience. Is it too soon? What change we make? I said, we have to wait and see what the reaction is. Well, we got it. We got to see what the reaction was in Lampard. He came out and made changes. We went to a 4-3-3 that was awkwardly really close to a lineup we saw a lot last season. So, of course, that drew out all of the sorry sympathists, which was just unnecessary to see on Twitter. But my question is how do you think Frank did setting up the team for this match? Because it's very different. Mark Clement on Discord even saying, what's our best formation? The 4-3-3 was almost identical to what Sarri ran, but the implementation looked different. Nick, I think that's a huge difference. Yes, N'Golo Kante was playing in a very forward position. Jorginho was sitting, Kovacic was in there, but it didn't look like Sarri ball, that's for sure.
No, I think it looked like what we thought Sarri ball would look like a little bit, which is, it's a cheap shot, I guess, but, it's, I thought it was exciting. I thought it was direct. The thing that you have to call out first and foremost is N'Golo Kante. When you watch the Manchester United match and you watch this match, and you wonder, oh man, why are Chelsea so much more energetic? Why are they pressing so much? Why are they winning balls back in Liverpool's half? I mean, it's a superhero performance from N'Golo Kante and others, but N'Golo Kante leading the way, in my opinion. That it's kind of hard, Dan, for me to compare to the United match because it felt so much like apples and oranges, not just from a lineup standpoint, but from a personnel standpoint. You had N'Golo, you had Giroud, who I thought did really, really well. You had Pulisic from the start, and I think the team just felt a lot more compact, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I think we did a really good job pressing. We did a really good job holding, for the most part, our defensive line. So we saw a much better performance from the partnership of Christensen and Zouma. Especially in the ability of Emerson to just play up and down, really against Mo Salah was a pretty impressive performance and shift to put in over the 120. To speak quickly on N'Golo, just stat-wise, 120 minutes played, 102 touches, 84% pass accuracy, 8 take-ons, 4 chances created, 3 tackles, 2 aerial duels, 1 interception, 1 clearance, 1 shot. That is,
and a sprinkle of nutmeg, if you will, just a nice, just a little
dash
bit
on
of
the top.
Yeah, you just got to grate it over your,
Yeah, just a little fine mist.
I definitely want to get into specific players. It's hard not to bring him.
But we should pull
out.
We should pull out though, because I think the overwhelming thing that people should walk away from this match with is not feeling disappointed by the fact that we didn't lift the trophy and allowing that to muddy what was a resilient performance. Like, this is Phoenix from the ashes moment after what was a really unfortunate first blow, shot across the bow, black eye for us in the public sphere, not within Chelsea, because I think within our own community, we felt really good about the positive signs we saw from Frank and the 4 real errors that led to those goals and really made the result look more lopsided than it did versus United. This is one where you look at the media coverage afterwards, and the people who are doing the commentating on Bleacher Report, the ESPN article, the Telegraph article, all the articles and conversation afterwards is like, oh shit, like this Chelsea team put together an effort, took one of the best sides in Europe at the moment, even with 1 or 2 of their top players out of the initial starting lineup, and forced them to 120 minutes and lost on penalties. Are we actually sure we understand what this Chelsea team is right now, Nick? I think that you have to be like, this is all positive to me, even though the end result initially left me steaming for about the hour afterwards.
Yeah, look, and Brandon, you're up next on this. Like, thanks for that thumbs up. That was so dumb. I think the overwhelming feeling, and I tweeted this out, is if you're Liverpool, you don't feel good about that. You don't feel good about the performance you put in. Chelsea took you to the wire, and this Chelsea team has still, with a fair amount of talent. I'm not saying we're a talentless team, but I mean, if you're comparing the 2 programs right now, I mean, we shouldn't win this game probably. I mean, and the fact that we almost did is just an incredible credit to the team. I feel really proud about the effort, but I'm also, Brandon, not a moral victory person. So I'm pissed off that we didn't do it. And I'm pissed off Frank didn't get his first win, in a game that was really intense. It felt like a mid-season type of clash to me.
Right. I think that's what, I think that's what surprised most of us. Frank and Jurgen both put out very strong lineups, respectively. They took it serious. I mean, the teams played with a ton of intensity. It was really good to see that kind of a reaction, from Frank and the team going out there. I mean, they went balls to the wall in this match. We're pressing. It's funny you called N'Golo Kante's 120 minutes casual, because that's exactly what it was. He makes it look casual, which is ridiculous. But the mentality to battle, to go into tackles, to run things down. I mean, that's what Tammy did. He ran down that loose ball in the box to make the referee and VAR make a decision. And they did. And we talk about that. I mean, that's what happens. Pulisic continuing to get to the end line and cut the ball back across the box. Frank set this team up to go toe to toe with Liverpool. And, and I'm just speculating here. He probably did on purpose. Like, 4-3-3, we're going 4-3-3. You guys played it last season, right? Let's go head to head with him. It's you versus him, let's go. Let's see what happens. And, I kind of laughed when I saw the lineup, because I couldn't have been further off from what the hell actually happened. But
per usual,
yeah, Frank got a different tune out of these guys. I think the way the team was organized, like 4-3-3 might be the new formation going forward, at least for a while. I mean, he's got to run this out for a while, but for whatever reason, Christensen was settled, Zouma was more settled. Emerson still looks really strong, but the middle three to me was the biggest difference. Against Manchester United, Jorginho and Kovacic were just running backwards to our own goal so much. They were a unit. They were organized. They were pivoting. Their movement within the middle was fantastic.
They were compact.
Right.
They didn't get separated.
Right, because they knew what to do. I mean, it's almost as if they had been doing it for a season. But to yours and Mark's credit, Nick, it's a very different system. They're looking to go forward, but that intricate passing is still there. There's a little bit of excitement with this team too. We don't just hoof it long and run it down.
Well, it's almost as if, to steal my phrase back, that you can play, to Mark's point, you can play multiple formations against multiple teams depending on what your best matchups are going to be. Like we could easily go out 4-2-3-1 against Leicester if that's the best matchup for our team. But what I will agree with you on, Brandon, is the trademark fight, the energy, the getting stuck in, all of this stuff that, at times over the past 4 or 5 years, we haven't really felt as much. Felt like the team was a little soft, maybe. It did not feel like that tonight at all. And that, Dan, I can't, if we get nothing back besides that just steel mentality and just willingness to go the extra mile and we get an 11 N'Golo Kante type of efforts on the field, then win.
I think what we saw during some of those first years under Mourinho and under Ancelotti is that our team was okay being a bunch of bastards at times and really just making life difficult for 90 minutes plus for the opposition. And this is one of the first times in recent memory. I think the last time I can remember it is under Kante and the Man City Chelsea match. That type of steel where we had like a Diego Costa up front and where you thought that these guys would just, kill someone on the pitch because like that's where they're at. This team had a shade of that, not fully, but you get a Rudiger back in there. You get Giroud up top, who definitely adds that cut to it. I'm excited. I'm excited about that type of mental strength, Brandon, that allowed us to go from one of the worst opening days we've had in 40, 50 plus years to then respond by taking the winners of the Champions League, 2-time finalist over the last 2 seasons, someone who's been working on a project for 5 plus years to get it to this point with millions upon millions of pounds of spend. And we took a bunch of youth players, some players people said are washed up and don't have the legs, and made it to the 120 minute and lost on a penalty shootout.
Moral victory, 100%. I was just super disappointed that it went 120 minutes. Especially, the announcers were talking about it was going to go right to penalties after regulation. So I had to deal with incompetence in the broadcast again. But, you said a name there, Dan, which I think is important. I missed this. Rudiger was on the bench today. WIllian was on the bench today. To be fair, they had a full bench of 12 players, but you also, Billy Gilmour traveled. Tomori even got minutes, and poor Batshuayi is still #minutes for Mishi. But I think that's what's really good to see. We're starting to see the nucleus of Chelsea come back. And I think that's important. Everyone always gives Klopp a hard time because he's had so much time and money to build that team, and until last season haven't won anything. Now, of course, they're probably going to be like, oh, yeah, trophies, just rolling them in 2 for 2. Here we go. But at the end of the day, even if we won it, I think that we would put our hands up and say, hey, great, glorified preseason trophy a little bit. But I don't know, Nick, Klopp celebrated like he won the Champions League all over again. And I just was like, to me,
yeah, I roll that shit, man.
It's come on. It's to me, if I like as an opposite fan, I'm kind of like, it's a little pathetic, man.
If he would have won the Community Shield, there just would have been like a handshake, and then everyone does a little lap, and then it's over. That's essentially what this is. You don't get extra credit for winning the UEFA Super Cup. It's a made-up trophy in a country that is barely Europe. And look, I think there's a lot going on here. To Dan's point, though, I want, maybe we'll print these shirts. We need to print some shirts, so we might just print them. We need the the Battle of the Bastards, Frank's Bastards mentality back into the show and into the team. It makes a huge difference to not let Liverpool play exactly how they want to play, to make them react to what you're doing, to make them flustered, there are times where Mo Salah, when he gets frustrated, just shuts down completely. Mm-hmm. And you gotta, if you're Frank Lampard, who, by the by, there's a great passage in Soccernomics where in 2006, Jose Mourinho walked up to him while he was taking a post-game shower, looked him dead in the eyes and said, "You're the best player in the fucking world. Act like it." And that was it. And then Frank went to score 20 some odd goals, have nearly 20 assists, and made the Ballon d'Or list. That is, Frank has learned from all these different types of managers. And man, we just need that. We need him to look at Ross Barkley and Tammy and Mason and Christian, especially, and just say, look, these guys who just won the Champions League are struggling with you right now at halftime. They really did. We played the whole first half in their half. Look at it. You're doing it. Just keep doing it. And I was so proud of that today, man. I really was.
It's huge. I think it's that's why we want to kind of elaborate on this one a little bit, is the Lampard effect, because it's gonna be really hard for the hashtag Lampard out people to show their face this week. I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't show my face anyways, but he gave him something to think about, right? He gave the fans confidence. I think if you go back on social media after the match, so much positivity from the team. And that's what's great. And I think the biggest black eye were the fans that were jumping on Tammy Abraham's back for the missed penalty. And that's just unacceptable. And you have to think about, as a fan base, he's a young striker that needs the nurturing and the support of a fan base like that, especially he's homegrown. He's not a journeyman. He's not an Higuain. He's not Morata. Get your shit together. He's homegrown, support him, and let's have him go on to be extremely successful for the next 8, 9, 10 years for Chelsea and be done with it. So that's all I'm going to do for that one.
The one thing with Tammy, though, just to keep in mind, so he did take the final penalty to send Villa through to the championship final last season. He has the ice through his veins, and I think credit to him for being the person who says, which I feel like it has. I don't think the first penalty is the hardest. I always think the last penalty is the hardest. To put himself on the in the firing line and say,
it was 5-4.
I'm going to be the one to take number 5 after Mo Salah takes his. that's ballsy, and that shows me that he is someone who has a mental toughness and determination. The whole team rallied around him at the end, and I just, you have to rally around that, Nick. You can't be upset at him. People can't be targeting him. Those people are just assholes.
Let's name our last two fifth spot penalty takers and see if they were any good. Eden Hazard, quite good. Didier Drogba, quite good. The balls you have to be the fifth penalty taker are huge, and you have to have confidence in yourself. He is nothing if not confident. And my tweet after the match was like, look, man, he may have missed this one, but he's going to make a hell of a lot more than he misses. He's going to score a hell of a lot more goals than he shanks. He is destined for greatness. I'm almost sure of it. It may not be right now, right? It may not be this exact moment, but the kid is 21 years old. I'm 31, and I'm struggling with shit. Like, it's like, come on, like, right. Look at yourself and pretend like you're 21 again, and see if you would have the stones in a fifth spot penalty when it's 5-4. I don't think you do. I don't think many people do. I think he does.
You remember, this is the perfect situation for that. Great if you do, not a big deal if you don't. And that is exactly what this was. So
it's a game that means nothing.
Right. That's what people forgot, and that was super depressing to see. But, we'll get into Frank's comments here in a little bit.